Hello, friends. Here, we focus on reading, listening, and speaking. You can practice English in a simple and fun way, learn useful words and phrases, and gain confidence in real-life situations. Learning English can be exciting, but sometimes it is also challenging. You need practice, patience, and guidance. That is why we create stories that help you learn English naturally. Reading a story helps you understand new words, listening helps you hear how English sounds, and speaking aloud helps you practice pronunciation and confidence. Today, we have a special story for you. English for Job Interviews, Story and Dialogue Practice. This story is about a young person who wants to get a job. We follow the character from seeing a job advertisement, preparing the CV, practicing interview questions, to finally getting the job. You will learn how to write an application, speak politely, answer questions, ask your own questions, and leave a good impression in an interview. This story is not only about English, it is also about life lessons, preparation, confidence, patience, politeness, and staying positive. While you read, listen, and practice the dialogues, you will also learn important skills that will help you in your real life and future job interviews. So, get ready to follow the story, practice the sentences, and learn useful English for job interviews. Remember, every chapter is designed for reading, listening, and speaking practice. You can repeat sentences aloud, answer questions, and improve your English step by step. Let's begin this exciting journey together with English for Job Interviews, Story and Dialogue Practice. Chapter 1. The Big Opportunity. It was a cold morning when Daniel sat by the small table in his kitchen. A cup of tea rested next to him, but he did not touch it. Instead, his eyes stayed fixed on the screen of his old laptop. For weeks, he had been searching for a job. He wanted to start working, to feel useful, and to earn money for himself. But every day felt the same, searching, reading, and not finding the right chance. That morning, something different appeared on the screen. On a job website, a new advertisement caught his attention. The title read, Office Assistant, International Company, Apply Now. Daniel's heart jumped. Could this be it? Could this be his chance? He clicked on the advertisement and read the description carefully. The company was looking for someone who could speak basic English, answer emails, and help with office work. Daniel's English was not perfect, but he could understand and communicate. Maybe I can do this, he thought. Maybe this job is for me. At the same time, fear whispered in his head. What if he was not good enough? What if they did not like him? What if his English was too weak? This was the first big choice he had to face. He could listen to his fear, close the laptop and give up, or he could be brave, prepare well, and try. After a long moment, he took a deep breath and whispered to himself, I will try. I will not give up. Daniel knew he needed to prepare. The advertisement asked for a CV and an application email. He had never written one before. His hand shook as he opened a blank document. The white page looked empty and frightening. For a moment he felt lost. Then he remembered his friend Anna. She had found a job last year and knew how to write a CV. He decided to ask her for advice. When Anna picked up the phone, Daniel explained his situation. I saw a job advertisement today, he said, his voice full of nervous energy. She sounded excited for him and asked what the job was. Daniel told her it was an office assistant position in an international company. Perfect, she replied. "Are you going to apply?" Daniel hesitated for a moment before answering, "Yes, but I don't know how to write the application or the CV. Can you show me?" Anna laughed kindly and reassured him. She explained that a CV should include his name, his contact information, his skills, and his experience. It should be simple, clear, and easy to read. She also told him to send it with a short, polite email. Hearing her advice made Daniel feel calmer. "Thank you, Anna," he said softly. "I feel so nervous, but also excited." Anna encouraged him gently, telling him not to worry. "Everyone feels nervous before an interview," she said, "but if he prepared well, he could do it." Daniel smiled as he ended the call. His fear was still there, but now there was also hope. He opened his laptop again and started typing. He wrote slowly, carefully, and with many mistakes. But instead of stopping, he corrected each mistake. Line by line, his CV started to take shape. As he wrote, he thought about the company. He imagined walking inside their office, meeting new people, and speaking English every day. The picture in his mind gave him energy. He wanted this opportunity, and he was ready to fight for it. When the CV was finally finished, Daniel wrote a short application email. It was simple and polite. He introduced himself, explained his interest in the job, and attached his CV. He read it several times, checking each word. It was not perfect, but it was clear. With a deep breath, he pressed send. As the email flew out into the world, Daniel felt a mix of emotions, pride, fear, and excitement. He knew the journey was just beginning. The job was not his yet, but he had taken the first step. And sometimes, the first step is the hardest. Like Daniel, many people feel afraid when they see a big opportunity. The easy but wrong choice is to listen to fear and do nothing. The stronger choice is to prepare, to ask for help, and to take action. Every application is not only about getting a job, it is also about learning, growing, and becoming stronger. Chapter 2. Preparing the CV. Daniel sat at his desk, staring at the document on his computer screen. The page was no longer empty, but it still looked messy and unfinished. He had written his name at the top, but the rest of the CV seemed confusing. He did not know where to start or what to include. Should he write about his hobbies? Should he explain why he liked football? Or should he only write about school and work? The more he thought about it, the more unsure he became. He remembered Anna's advice from the phone call. She told him to keep the CV simple, polite, and clear. But what did that really mean? Daniel decided to write everything he could think of. He added his name, his birthday, his school history, his love for football, his favorite food, and even the names of his 2 cats. When he looked at it again, he laughed nervously. Something felt wrong. Later that day, he met Anna at a small cafe near the bus stop. He printed his CV and showed it to her. She read the first few lines, then looked up with a smile. "Daniel," she said kindly, "this is a good start, but a CV is not like a personal diary. You don't need to tell them about your cats or your favorite food." Daniel blushed and quickly looked away. "I wasn't sure what to include," he admitted. Anna explained patiently. "A good CV should have your name and your contact information at the top. Then, you write your education, what schools you went to and what you studied. After that, you add your work experience, if you have any. And finally, you can write your skills, like languages or computer knowledge. That is enough." Daniel nodded slowly. He realized his first attempt was the wrong way. Too much personal information, too many details that did not matter. The right way, he now understood, was to focus on what was useful for the job. He took out a pen and started making notes as Anna spoke. That evening, Daniel returned home and rewrote his CV. This time, he followed Anna's advice. At the top, he put his name, address, phone number, and email. Then, he wrote about his education, the name of his high school, the years he studied, and the certificates he had earned. He did not have much work experience, but he had helped at his uncle's shop for a summer. He added that too. Finally, he wrote about his skills: basic English, computer skills, and teamwork. When he read the new version, it looked better. Still, he was not sure if it was good enough. He decided to ask Anna again. He sent her a message with the file attached and wrote, "Can you please check my CV? I want to be sure it is okay." Anna replied the next morning. Her message was encouraging. She told him the CV was clear, polite, and professional. She suggested one small change. Instead of writing, "I can use computer," he should write computer skills, Word, Excel, email. This sounded more professional. Daniel smiled as he corrected the sentence. He was learning that small details mattered. He also realized something important. Writing a CV was not just about listing facts. It was about showing respect for the company. A messy CV could send the wrong message. A clear, polite CV showed that the person cared, prepared, and wanted to do well. When Daniel looked at his final version, he felt proud. It was not perfect, but it was simple, clear, and professional. He thought about the difference between the first draft and the final one. The first was confusing, full of unnecessary details and almost childish. The second was neat, organized, and ready for an employer's eyes. That contrast made him feel stronger. He realized that learning from mistakes was part of the journey. Daniel closed his laptop with a small smile. The CV was finished, and he was one step closer to the interview. He still felt nervous, but also more confident. The job was not his yet, but now he had something to offer. The CV was his voice on paper, and for the first time, it truly spoke for him. Chapter 3. Waiting for a reply. After Daniel finished his CV and sent his application email, the hardest part began: waiting. At first, he felt proud of himself. He had worked hard, corrected his mistakes, and sent something professional. For the first few hours, he was full of hope. He imagined the company opening his email, reading his CV, and smiling. He thought about someone saying, "This young man looks good for the job. Let's invite him to an interview." But as the day passed, his hope slowly turned into impatience. He opened his email inbox every 10 minutes, refreshing the page again and again. Each time, the screen showed nothing new. It felt like the world was silent, and Daniel was waiting alone. He tried to distract himself by reading a book or watching television, but his thoughts always returned to the same question: why haven't they replied yet? On the second day, the fear began. He worried that his CV was not good enough. Maybe the company had already chosen someone else. Maybe his English mistakes were too big. He thought of all the times he had written the wrong word or spelled something badly. In his mind, the small mistakes became big problems. "What if they laughed at my CV?" he whispered to himself. This was another test. He could choose the wrong way, let his fear grow, lose confidence, and give up on the dream. Or he could choose the right way. Stay patient, believe in himself, and trust the process. Deep inside, Daniel knew the right choice was to wait with hope, even if it was difficult. 3 days later, Daniel woke up early. The first thing he did was check his phone. His eyes grew wide when he saw a new notification. It was an email from the company. His hands shook as he opened it. For a moment, he could not breathe. Then he read the words slowly, carefully, like they were the most important words in the world. Dear Daniel, thank you for your application. We would like to invite you for an interview next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Please confirm your attendance by reply email. Best regards, Human Resources Department. Daniel's heart raced. He read the email 3 times to be sure. This was it. He had been invited to an interview. He had been chosen. All the waiting, all the fear, all the doubts, they were worth it. He laughed out loud in his small kitchen and shouted, "Yes! I got the interview." Without waiting another second, he grabbed his phone and called Anna. When she answered, he could hardly speak clearly because he was so excited. "Anna!" they replied. He shouted, "I got the interview!" Next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. She cheered for him, her voice full of happiness. She reminded him that this was only the beginning, but it was already a big achievement. That evening, Daniel wrote a polite reply to confirm his attendance. He typed carefully, "Dear Sir or Madam, thank you for your email. I confirm that I will attend the interview on Tuesday at 10 a.m. I look forward to meeting you. Best regards, Daniel." He read it again and again before clicking send. His message was short, simple, and respectful. It showed that he was serious and professional. When he finally closed his laptop, Daniel sat back in his chair with a deep breath. His emotions were mixed: hope, fear, and excitement. He was happy to have the chance, but he also felt nervous about what would come next. He knew the interview would be a real test of his English and his confidence. Still, he reminded himself of something important. The company had read his CV and liked it enough to invite him. That meant they saw potential in him. They believed he could be the right person for the job. That thought gave him strength. As he went to bed that night, Daniel whispered to himself, "This is my opportunity. I will prepare. I will not waste it." He closed his eyes, knowing the next step of his journey was about to begin. Chapter 4. Researching the company. The morning after receiving the interview email, Daniel woke up early. The excitement from yesterday was still in his heart, but now there was also a new feeling: responsibility. He knew this chance was important, and he wanted to be ready. As he sat at his desk, he asked himself, "What should I do first to prepare?" He remembered something Anna had told him before. Before an interview, always learn about the company. If you know nothing, the interviewer will think you don't care. But if you understand their work, they will see you as serious and respectful. Those words echoed in Daniel's mind. He realized she was right. The interview was not just about his English or his CV. It was also about showing respect and interest. So he opened his laptop and typed the company's name into the search bar. At first, he felt lost. There were so many results, websites, news articles, and even social media pages. He clicked on the official company website. The homepage was full of pictures of people working in bright offices. There were words like teamwork, innovation, and global values. Daniel did not understand every word, but he tried his best. Slowly, he read through the sections. He learned that the company helped other businesses with communication and organization. He read that they had offices in 5 countries. He discovered their main values were respect, honesty, and growth. Some of the sentences were difficult, but Daniel wrote down simple notes. Company helps business, 5 countries, values, respect, honesty, growth. Later that day, he met Anna again. She asked him how the preparation was going. Daniel smiled and explained what he had found. The company has offices in many countries. They help with communication. Their values are respect, honesty, and growth. Anna nodded with approval. Good, she said. If they ask, "What do you know about our company?" you will be ready. That shows interest. Many people go to interviews without preparing. That is the wrong way. The right way is what you are doing now, reading, learning, and showing respect. Hearing this made Daniel feel more confident. He imagined the moment in the interview when the question might come. He pictured himself saying, "I know your company works with many businesses, and your values are respect, honesty, and growth." He imagined the interviewer nodding with a small smile. That image gave him courage. In the evening, Daniel practiced more. He read short sentences from the company's website and repeated them in his own words. Sometimes he made mistakes, but he corrected himself. For example, he first said, "The company is respect," but then he changed it to, "The company values respect." Each small correction made him stronger. He also tried preparing answers to common questions. He thought, "If they ask me why I want this job, I can say, I want to grow, and I want to learn in an international company." He practiced this line in front of the mirror. At first, he looked shy, but after several tries, he started to smile. He told himself, "I can do this. I just need to practice." That night, he sat on his bed and wrote in his notebook. Learn about the company. Prepare simple answers. Show respect. The list was short, but it was powerful. Daniel understood that knowledge gave confidence. Without research, he would walk into the interview blind. With research, he could walk in with his head held high. As he closed his notebook, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Anna. "What do you know about this company?" Daniel laughed. She was testing him. He quickly replied, "They work with many businesses. They have offices in 5 countries, and their values are respect, honesty, and growth." A moment later, Anna sent a thumbs-up emoji. Daniel smiled. He felt ready for the next step. The interview was still days away, but already he felt stronger. Knowledge had turned his fear into confidence, and he knew that this preparation was not only for the company, it was also for himself. Every fact he learned, every sentence he practiced, was a step forward in his journey of growth. Chapter 5. Choosing the right clothes. The day of the interview was getting closer, and Daniel felt both excited and nervous. He had prepared his CV, he had practiced his answers, and he had learned about the company. But now, another question was in his mind. What should I wear? He opened his small wardrobe and looked at the clothes inside. There were jeans, t-shirts, a few sweaters, and one old jacket. He frowned. None of these looked very professional. He remembered seeing people on TV and interviews wearing shirts and ties, looking clean and confident. He thought about it carefully. If I wear my old t-shirt, it will not look good. If I wear jeans, it will look too casual. I need something formal. Later that afternoon, Daniel met Anna at a cafe. As soon as they sat down, he asked her, "Anna, what should I wear for the interview?" She smiled and said, "Good question. Clothes are very important. They don't just cover you. They send a message. Clean and simple clothes show respect. Formal clothes show that you take the job seriously. If you wear something too casual, they may think you don't care." Daniel nodded. "So, what is formal?" he asked. Anna explained, "For men, a shirt, maybe a tie, clean trousers, and good shoes. For women, a simple dress or a blouse with a skirt or trousers. Always make sure the clothes are clean and neat. No bright colors, no strange designs. Keep it simple, polite, and professional." Daniel wrote these words in his notebook: shirt, tie, trousers, shoes, dress, clean, formal. He repeated them quietly to himself, practicing the new vocabulary. The next day, Daniel went to a small clothing store. He walked slowly through the racks of shirts and trousers. He touched the fabric and looked at the prices. Some were too expensive, but finally he found a light blue shirt that fit well and was not too costly. He also chose a pair of dark trousers and polished black shoes. As he tried them on, he looked in the mirror. For the first time, he saw himself not just as Daniel the student, but as Daniel the professional. When he came home, he showed Anna a picture of his outfit. "What do you think?" he asked. She replied, "Perfect. You look smart and professional. This will give the interviewer a good first impression." Hearing this gave Daniel confidence. He realized that clothes were more than just fabric. They were part of the interview, part of the story he was telling about himself. By wearing formal, clean clothes, he was saying without words, "I respect this company. I am ready to work. I take this chance seriously." That evening, Daniel practiced again in front of the mirror. He stood straight, smiled, and said out loud, "Hello, my name is Daniel. Thank you for this opportunity." The clothes made him feel different, stronger, more confident. He laughed softly and thought, maybe clothes really do change how you feel inside. The night before the interview, he laid the shirt, trousers, and shoes carefully on a chair. He made sure everything was clean and neat. He even practiced tying his tie twice, making mistakes and then fixing them. Finally, he managed to make it look right. He felt proud. Just before sleeping, he sent a message to Anna. "Thank you for your advice. I feel ready now. My clothes are clean and formal. I will make a good impression." Anna replied, "Yes, you will. Remember, confidence comes from preparation. You are ready in your mind, and now you are ready in your appearance too." Daniel smiled as he turned off the light. For the first time, he felt not only prepared, but also proud. The interview was tomorrow, and he was ready to meet it with respect, confidence, and a clean, professional look. Chapter 6. Practicing Common Questions. The night before the interview, Daniel felt nervous again. His clothes were ready, his CV was ready, and he had learned about the company. But one question stayed in his mind. Will I be able to answer the questions? He knew the interview would ask about himself, his skills, and his experience. The thought made his hands sweat and his stomach feel tight. He remembered Anna's advice. Practicing questions with a friend could make a big difference. So he called her and asked if she could help him. Anna agreed and suggested a role play. She would be the interviewer and he would answer the questions. When Anna arrived, Daniel felt shy. He had never practiced this way before. Anna smiled and said, "Don't worry. This is just practice. Pretend I am the real interviewer. Speak slowly and clearly. If you make a mistake, it's okay. Just try again." The first question Anna asked was simple. "Tell me about yourself." Daniel's mind went blank. He started nervously. I am Daniel. I like, English and computers." He stopped and felt embarrassed. Anna encouraged him. "Good start. Try again, but add a little more about your skills and experience. Speak slowly." Daniel took a deep breath and tried again. "My name is Daniel. I finished high school. I can use a computer and I speak basic English. I want to work hard and learn new skills." This time he sounded more confident. Anna smiled. Much better. Clear and polite. That is what interviewers like. Next, Anna asked, "Why do you want this job?" Daniel hesitated. He thought about his dreams and the research he had done about the company. Slowly, he answered, "I want this job because I want to learn in a real company. I like helping people and working with a team. I want to grow my skills and be better at English." Anna nodded. "Very good. That shows interest and motivation. You are learning to answer well." Finally, Anna asked the difficult question. "What are your strengths and weaknesses?" Daniel swallowed. He thought he would fail, but he remembered Anna's tips. Be honest but positive. He said, "My strengths are that I am hardworking and I always try to do my best. My weakness is that I sometimes get nervous, but I am learning to stay calm." Anna clapped softly. "Perfect. You are honest and polite. That is the right way." After the role play, Daniel felt a new emotion: confidence. He realized that practice could change fear into calmness. His heart was still beating fast, but he knew he could answer these questions if he spoke slowly and clearly. He thanked Anna for helping him and wrote down notes from the session. Later that evening, Daniel practiced alone in front of the mirror. He repeated the questions and answers several times. Each time, he felt more comfortable with his own words. He smiled at his reflection and said, "I can do this. I am ready." Before going to bed, Daniel reflected on the day. He thought about how nervous he had felt in the morning, shy and unsure. Now, he felt stronger and more prepared. The fear had not disappeared, but he had learned to face it. Every practice made him more confident. He realized an important lesson. Interviews are not only about showing knowledge, they are about showing your personality, your honesty, and your effort. Even if your English was not perfect, speaking clearly, politely, and with confidence was enough to make a good impression. Daniel went to sleep that night with a calm heart. He knew tomorrow would be a big day, but he felt ready. The practice had given him strength. The fear was still there, but it no longer controlled him. He whispered softly, "I am ready. I can do this." Chapter 7. The Night Before. The evening before the interview, Daniel could not focus on anything. He had prepared his CV, learned about the company, and practiced his answers. Yet when he tried to sit quietly, his mind would not stop. Thoughts raced through his head. What if I forget my answers? What if my English is too weak? What if I make a mistake? His stomach felt tight, and his heart beat quickly. He was nervous, more than ever. Daniel tried to relax by reading a book, but the words blurred on the page. He drank a glass of water, hoping it would calm him. Then he remembered something Anna had said. Preparation reduces fear. He realized there were still small things he could do to feel ready. He printed a copy of his CV and placed it carefully in his bag. He checked to make sure his notes on company research and common questions were there too. He laid out his shirt, trousers, and shoes neatly on a chair, making sure everything was clean and ready. Packing the bag and preparing his clothes made him feel more organized and less worried. Daniel's mother came into the room and noticed his anxious face. "Daniel, why do you look so worried?" she asked gently. He explained that he had an interview tomorrow and felt nervous about everything, the questions, the company, and his English. His mother smiled warmly and sat next to him. "Daniel, don't worry. You have prepared well. You have worked hard and you are ready. Just do your best and everything will be fine," she said. Her words were simple, but they made Daniel feel calmer. He realized he had been focusing too much on fear and not enough on the effort he had already put in. His mother's advice reminded him that preparation, practice, and a calm mind were more important than being perfect. He decided to follow one more important step. He set an alarm to wake up early and told himself to sleep soon. Even though he wanted to practice more, he knew that a fresh mind in the morning was more valuable than late-night study. He turned off the computer, brushed his teeth, and got into bed. For a while, his thoughts kept returning to the interview. He imagined walking into the office, shaking hands, and answering the questions. Some scenarios made him nervous, but he imagined them going well too. I can answer clearly. I can speak politely. I can show confidence. Slowly, these thoughts began to replace the fear in his mind. Before closing his eyes completely, he whispered softly to himself, "I am ready. I have prepared. I will do my best." The words felt like a small shield against the worry that had filled his mind all evening. He focused on his breathing, slow and steady, imagining himself smiling at the interviewer and speaking clearly. Finally, Daniel felt his body relax. His heart still beat fast, but his mind felt calmer. The preparation, the advice from his mother, and the careful packing of his bag had made him ready in a new way. He realized that feeling nervous was natural. It showed he cared, but it did not have to stop him. As he drifted into sleep, Daniel thought about the day ahead. Tomorrow, he would meet the interviewer, share his skills, and show his respect for the company. He did not need to be perfect. He only needed to be prepared, confident, and polite. And with that thought, a small smile appeared on his face. Daniel's night was not completely free of worry, but for the first time, he felt a quiet strength inside. The interview was coming, and he was ready to face it. Chapter 8: The Journey to the Interview. The morning of the interview, Daniel woke up earlier than usual. The sunlight was soft through the window, and the birds were singing outside. He felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Today was the big day, the day he would finally meet the company and show them who he was. He checked his bag one more time. His CV was there, neatly folded, along with his notes and a pen. His shirt was clean, trousers ironed, and shoes polished. Everything was ready. Daniel took a deep breath, trying to calm the flutter in his stomach. "I have prepared well. I can do this," he whispered to himself. Daniel left his house and walked to the bus stop. He felt a little nervous as he looked at the time. What if the bus is late? What if I am late? The fear made his heart beat faster, but then he remembered Anna's advice. It is always better to arrive early. Being early shows respect for the company and for yourself. When the bus arrived, Daniel stepped carefully and found a seat. He held onto his bag tightly and tried to relax. During the ride, he reviewed his notes quietly, repeating answers to common questions in his head. The city passed by outside the window, cars, shops, and people walking quickly. Daniel imagined walking into the company and smiling politely at the receptionist. At one busy street, the bus stopped, and Daniel realized he was unsure if he was on the correct route. His heart jumped again. He needed directions. He approached a friendly-looking man standing nearby and asked politely, "Excuse me, sir. Can you tell me how to go to company name?" The man smiled and gave clear directions, pointing to the next street and the bus stop to change. Daniel thanked him warmly, saying, "Thank you very much. I really appreciate your help." The man nodded, and Daniel felt a small wave of confidence. Being polite and asking questions correctly could help him in the interview too. Finally, Daniel arrived near the company building. He checked the time. He had arrived 40 minutes early. A wave of relief washed over him. He found a quiet cafe nearby and sat down for a few minutes. He sipped water slowly and breathed deeply. Arriving early gave him the chance to calm his mind and prepare his thoughts. As he watched people passing by, he reminded himself of one important rule. In an interview, it is not only about speaking well, it is also about being polite to everyone, security guards, receptionists, or other staff. Every small interaction shows respect and leaves a positive impression. Daniel practiced a small smile, imagining greeting the receptionist politely when the time came. After a few minutes, he left the cafe and walked toward the building. He straightened his shirt, adjusted his bag, and practiced saying hello quietly in his mind. "Good morning. I am Daniel. Thank you for this opportunity," he whispered to himself. His steps felt lighter, and his nervousness had changed into a quiet confidence. Daniel reached the front door and took a deep breath. The bus ride, the waiting, and the directions had taught him something important. Preparation is more than just studying answers. It is about being ready for the journey, being polite and managing small challenges along the way. He felt proud that he had handled everything carefully. As he stepped inside the building, Daniel's heart raced with excitement, but he also felt calm. He was early, prepared, and polite. Today he would meet the interviewer and show the best version of himself. The journey was over, but the opportunity was just beginning. Chapter 9. First Impressions. Daniel walked through the glass doors of the company building. His heart was beating fast, and his palms felt a little sweaty. The lobby was bright and modern, with a few people walking quickly to their offices. He reminded himself to stay calm and polite. This was his first impression, and he wanted it to be good. He noticed the receptionist behind the front desk, typing on a computer. Daniel took a deep breath and approached her slowly. "Good morning," he said, trying to sound confident. The receptionist looked up and smiled. Daniel continued, "My name is Daniel. I have an interview today at 10 o'clock. The receptionist nodded kindly. "Good morning, Daniel. Please have a seat. The interviewer will call you soon." Daniel thanked her politely, saying, "Thank you very much." He smiled and walked to the chairs nearby, sitting quietly and straightening his shirt. Every little action mattered: polite words, calm posture, and a small smile. While waiting, Daniel felt a mix of emotions. His nerves were still there, but he also felt proud. He had prepared for this moment. He remembered Anna's advice. The first impression begins with a greeting. A handshake, a smile, and a polite, "Nice to meet you," could set the tone for the interview. Soon, a man in a suit came toward him. "Daniel?" he asked with a friendly voice. Daniel stood up quickly, straightened his shirt one more time, and extended his hand. "Yes, that's me," he said, smiling politely. The man shook his hand firmly but kindly and said, "Nice to meet you, Daniel. I am Mr. Lee, and I will be your interviewer today." Daniel repeated in his mind, "Nice to meet you," and spoke clearly, "Nice to meet you, Mr. Lee." He felt a small wave of confidence as he realized that polite greetings could make the first impression positive. Even though he was nervous, being polite and professional made him feel stronger. Mr. Lee smiled and guided Daniel to the interview room. On the way, they passed other employees. Daniel made sure to nod and smile briefly at each person. He realized that etiquette was not only about talking to the interviewer. Every small interaction showed respect and left a good impression. Before entering the room, Daniel took a deep breath. He reminded himself of everything he had practiced: a confident posture, polite words, and a smile. The door opened, and he stepped inside. The room was bright, with a desk and 2 chairs. Mr. Lee gestured to the chair and said, "Please have a seat." Daniel sat down politely, placing his bag neatly on the floor. As the interview began, Daniel felt a mixture of nerves and calm. He remembered the receptionist, Anna, and the preparation steps that brought him here. Greeting well, being polite, and smiling had helped him feel ready for this moment. His first impression was done, and it was positive. Daniel realized something important. Nervousness is normal, but politeness, preparation, and a simple smile could change how others see you. Being respectful and confident did not mean being perfect. It meant showing that you cared and were ready to do your best. He sat back slightly, ready for the questions. His heart still raced, but now he felt stronger. The first step, arriving, greeting, and making a good impression, was complete. The journey of the interview was just beginning, and Daniel was ready to show who he truly was. Chapter 10. The interview begins. Daniel took a deep breath as he sat across from Mr. Lee in the bright interview room. His heart beat quickly, but he remembered all the preparation he had done, practicing answers, learning about the company, and even choosing his clothes carefully. Now it was time to speak. Mr. Lee smiled warmly and began the interview. "Good morning, Daniel. How are you today?" he asked. Daniel paused for a moment, then spoke slowly and politely. "Good morning, sir. I am fine, thank you. And you?" Mr. Lee nodded, pleased with the polite response. The first question was simple but important. "Can you tell me about yourself?" Daniel felt nervous again, but he remembered the practice with Anna. He took a deep breath and began. "My name is Daniel. I finished high school last year. I can use a computer and speak basic English. I want to learn and work hard in your company." His voice was clear, and he spoke slowly. Mr. Lee listened carefully and smiled. Daniel felt a little relief. Speaking slowly and politely helped him feel more confident. He realized that he did not need to say too many words. Short, clear sentences were enough to show that he was prepared and serious. Mr. Lee continued with another question. Why do you want this job? Daniel remembered his notes and replied carefully, I want this job because I want to learn in a real company. I like helping people and working in a team. I also want to improve my English and my skills. Mr. Lee nodded again, taking notes. Daniel noticed that speaking slowly and thinking before answering helped him stay calm. The nervousness was still there, but it did not stop him. Each answer he gave made him feel stronger. He smiled inside. Next, Mr. Lee asked, What are your strengths? Daniel thought for a moment and said, My strengths are that I am hard-working, polite, and I always try to do my best. Then Mr. Lee asked, And your weaknesses? Daniel answered honestly, My weakness is that I sometimes get nervous. But I am learning to stay calm and speak slowly. Mr. Lee smiled. That is good. Being honest is important. The questions continued, simple but important. Daniel spoke politely, using short and clear sentences. He remembered to look at Mr. Lee, nod politely, and smile when appropriate. The preparation, the role plays, and the research had helped him handle the questions without panic. During a short pause, Daniel thought about how far he had come. Just a few weeks ago, he was unsure how to write a CV or how to greet someone politely. Now, he was sitting in a real interview, speaking English, answering questions, and showing respect. He felt proud of his efforts. At one point, Mr. Lee said, Daniel, do you have any questions for me? Daniel had prepared for this moment as well. He asked politely, Yes, sir. Can you tell me what a normal day at this job looks like? Mr. Lee smiled and explained. Daniel listened carefully and nodded, asking one small follow-up question about teamwork. This showed interest, and he realized that asking questions also made a positive impression. By the end of the interview, Daniel felt a mixture of relief and accomplishment. His nervousness was still there, but he had learned how to control it by speaking slowly, politely, and clearly. Every small step, from preparation to greeting to answering questions, helped him shine. As he shook hands with Mr. Lee and said, Thank you very much for this opportunity, Daniel felt a quiet pride. The interview had begun nervously, but through preparation and patience, he had faced it well. He left the room with a small smile, knowing that he had done his best. Chapter 11. Answering Questions. Daniel sat across from Mr. Lee, feeling his heart still beat fast, but more calmly than before. The interview was continuing, and now the questions were a little more challenging. He knew that this was the moment to show his skills and personality. He remembered Anna's advice, speak politely, use simple sentences, and show your strengths without exaggerating. The first question came smoothly. Daniel, what are your strengths? Daniel paused, took a deep breath, and smiled politely. He remembered to start with, I am good at, he said, I am good at using a computer. I am good at listening and helping people. I like working with a team. Mr. Lee nodded and wrote something in his notebook. Daniel felt proud that he could answer politely and clearly. Next, Mr. Lee asked, Can you tell me about a time you worked in a team? Daniel thought for a moment. He remembered helping his uncle in the shop last summer. He smiled and spoke slowly. Last summer, I helped my uncle in his shop. I worked with other helpers. We talked and helped each other. I learn to work in a team and to listen to others. Mr. Lee smiled again. Very good, Daniel. Teamwork is important in our company. Daniel realized that simple sentences worked well. He did not need to use long or difficult words. Using phrases like, I am good at, I like, and I want to learn, made his answers clear and polite. He felt more confident as he continued. The next question was about his goals. Daniel, what do you want to learn in this job? He asked. Daniel thought carefully and said, I want to learn new skills in this company. I want to learn to work well with others and improve my English. I want to help the company and grow my knowledge. Mr. Lee nodded with approval. That is a good answer. Learning is very important. Daniel smiled inside. He noticed a pattern. Every answer had the same 3 rules: be honest, be polite, and speak slowly. He also realized that giving examples made his answers stronger. Talking about helping his uncle, working in a team, and learning new skills made his words real. After a short pause, Mr. Lee asked a slightly more difficult question. Daniel, what do you do if a problem happens at work? Daniel thought carefully. He spoke clearly. If a problem happens, I try to stay calm. I talk to my team and look for a solution. I ask for advice if I need help. I want to do my best to solve the problem. Mr. Lee smiled and said, Excellent. That shows responsibility. Daniel felt proud. Every question taught him something new about interviews. Even when the questions were harder, he remembered his practice, speaking politely, using simple words, and showing honesty. He could feel himself growing more confident with each answer. At the end, Mr. Lee asked, Do you have any questions for me? Daniel had prepared for this moment. He asked politely, Yes, sir. Can you tell me what is most important for this job? Mr. Lee explained, and Daniel listened carefully. He nodded, thanked him politely, and realized that asking questions also made him look professional and interested. As the interview ended, Daniel shook hands firmly with Mr. Lee and said, Thank you very much for your time and this opportunity. He smiled inside, feeling proud. The practice, the preparation, and all the effort had helped him answer the questions politely and clearly. Daniel walked out of the room feeling a mix of relief and joy. He had learned that interviews were not only about knowledge, they were about showing respect, confidence, and honesty. Even simple words could make a big impression when spoken politely. He knew he had done his best. Chapter 12. Asking Your Own Questions. As the interview continued, Daniel noticed Mr. Lee writing notes and looking at him with a kind expression. Then Mr. Lee asked a question that Daniel had practiced many times. Daniel, do you have any questions for me? Daniel felt a small wave of nervousness. He remembered Anna's advice. Asking questions is important. It shows interest, respect, and that you care about the job. Even simple questions are enough. He took a deep breath, smiled politely, and answered, Yes, sir. I have a few questions. He started with the first one. What is a normal day like here? Mr. Lee smiled and explained patiently. He described the daily tasks, the teamwork, and how employees communicate with each other. Daniel listened carefully, nodded, and even took a small mental note. He realized that asking simple questions helped him understand the company better. Then Daniel asked another question. Is there training for new workers? Mr. Lee answered kindly, Yes, we provide training for everyone. You will learn about your tasks, the company rules, and how to work well with your team. Daniel smiled inside. Knowing this made him feel more confident. It showed that the company cared about employees and their growth. Daniel noticed that asking questions also helped him feel less nervous. When the interviewer explained the answers, it felt like a conversation, not just a test. He realized that the polite questions he prepared made him look professional and interested. It was not about asking many questions, but about asking the right ones politely. For practice, he remembered a small dialogue Anna had suggested. He imagined himself speaking, "Excuse me, sir, can you tell me more about teamwork here?" The interviewer might answer, "Of course. We work in small groups, share ideas, and support each other. Teamwork is very important in our company." Daniel thought that this conversation felt natural and polite. He also practiced another example in his mind. What skills do I need to be successful in this job? Mr. Lee could answer, "You need to be hardworking, polite, and willing to learn. We will guide you in the beginning, but your attitude is most important." Daniel liked this answer. He realized that showing curiosity and willingness to learn was as important as answering questions correctly. During the real interview, Daniel asked one last question politely. "How does the company help employees improve their skills?" Mr. Lee explained that there were workshops, teamwork activities, and guidance from senior staff. Daniel nodded and said, "Thank you very much, sir. That is very helpful." His polite words left a positive impression, and he felt proud that he had asked questions with respect. After the questions, Mr. Lee smiled and said, "Thank you, Daniel. Your questions show that you are serious about the job and willing to learn. That is very important." Daniel felt a warm feeling inside. The simple questions he asked made a difference. As he stood to leave, Daniel realized something important. An interview is not only about answering questions, it is also about showing interest in the company. Simple, polite questions show respect, motivation, and curiosity. Even a beginner in English can make a good impression by asking the right questions carefully. Daniel left the interview room with a small, confident smile. He had asked polite questions, listened carefully, and learned more about the company. The experience made him stronger, and he understood that asking questions is a key skill for interviews and life. Chapter 13. The Goodbye. The interview was coming to an end. Daniel felt a mix of emotions, relief, excitement, and a little nervousness about the result. He knew this was the final moment to leave a good impression. Every small detail still mattered: his words, his posture, and his smile. Mr. Lee looked at him kindly and said, "Thank you, Daniel. That is all for today. Do you have any final words?" Daniel took a deep breath. He remembered Anna's advice: always thank the interviewer and say politely that you look forward to hearing from them. He smiled and said clearly, "Thank you very much for your time and for this opportunity. I enjoyed learning about your company, and I look forward to hearing from you." Mr. Lee nodded and smiled in return. "You are welcome, Daniel. It was a pleasure to meet you." Daniel felt a small wave of relief. Speaking politely and showing gratitude made him feel proud. He realized that the goodbye was as important as the first impression. A polite ending could leave a lasting positive memory. Before standing up, Daniel shook Mr. Lee's hand firmly but politely. He looked him in the eye and said again, "Thank you, sir." Mr. Lee shook his hand back and said, "Good luck, Daniel." Daniel smiled inside, feeling a warm confidence. As he walked out of the interview room, Daniel's mind was full of mixed emotions. Relief, because the questions were over. Excitement, because he had answered them politely and clearly. Nervousness, because he did not yet know the result. But most importantly, pride, because he had done his best. On the way to the elevator, he met the receptionist again. She smiled and asked, "How was your interview, Daniel?" He replied politely, "It went well. Thank you for your help." Even small interactions were part of the impression he left behind. Daniel realized that politeness and gratitude were not only for the interviewer, they were for everyone he met at the company. Outside the building, Daniel took a deep breath. The city felt brighter, and the morning sunlight seemed warmer. He thought about the journey, from preparing his CV, learning about the company, practicing questions, choosing clothes, traveling to the interview, and finally speaking politely and asking questions. Every step had prepared him for this moment. He called Anna and shared the experience. "The interview is finished," he said. I thanked the interviewer, asked my questions, and said goodbye politely. Anna replied happily, "That is excellent, Daniel. You did everything correctly. Now it is time to wait. You showed respect, confidence, and honesty. You should feel proud." Daniel smiled and nodded. Even though he did not know the result yet, he felt a strong sense of accomplishment. He understood that interviews are not only about the outcome, they are about effort, preparation, and the way you show yourself to others. As he walked home, he thought about the lessons he had learned. Speak politely, be clear, ask questions, and always show gratitude. These lessons were not only for interviews, but for life itself. He realized that being respectful and confident could open doors in many areas, not just in finding a job. That evening, Daniel reflected on the day with pride. He had faced nervousness, answered questions politely, and finished the interview respectfully. The goodbye was not just words. It was a final step that showed who he truly was. Daniel went to bed feeling calm and proud. The interview was over, but the lessons would stay with him forever. He whispered to himself softly, "I did my best. I showed respect. I am ready for the next step." Chapter 14. Waiting for the result. After the interview, Daniel walked home feeling a mix of emotions. Relief washed over him because the questions were done. Pride stayed in his heart because he had answered politely and clearly, but nervousness returned as he thought about the result. Will they hire me? Did I do well enough? He wondered. His stomach felt tight, and his mind kept thinking about the interview over and over. Daniel knew that waiting was difficult, but he also remembered Anna's advice: stay positive and patient. Worrying will not change anything. He decided to follow this advice and focus on calm, positive thoughts. He reminded himself that he had done his best, and that was already an achievement. He sent a message to Anna, sharing how the interview had gone. "Anna, the interview is finished." I thanked the interviewer, asked questions, and answered politely. I feel proud but also nervous about the result. Anna replied quickly, "Daniel, that is wonderful. You did everything right. Now you must be patient. Trust your effort. Results will come soon." Talking to Anna helped Daniel feel better. He realized that sharing feelings with someone kind and supportive could reduce nervousness. He also learned that waiting was part of the process. Everyone feels nervous after an important interview, and staying positive was a skill he could practice. During the next few days, Daniel tried to keep busy. He read a book, practiced English, and even helped his mother at home. Sometimes, his mind returned to the interview, and he worried again. But then he reminded himself, "I did my best. I answered politely. I showed respect. Now, I wait patiently." Slowly, he learned to balance excitement and calmness. One afternoon, Daniel met his friend, Tom. Tom noticed Daniel looked a little worried. "How did the interview go?" he asked. Daniel smiled politely and replied, "It went well, I think. I answered questions clearly, asked questions politely, and thanked the interviewer. Now, I wait for the result." Tom nodded. "Good job, Daniel. Waiting is hard, but you did everything you could. Just be patient." Daniel felt encouraged. Talking about the interview with a friend made him see that he had done his best, and that was enough for now. Daniel also reflected on what he had learned from the waiting process. He understood that success does not come immediately. Sometimes you must prepare, do your best, and then wait patiently for the results. Worrying too much or feeling impatient does not help. It only makes you anxious. Every day, Daniel practiced positive thinking. He repeated quietly to himself, "I did my best. I was polite. I answered clearly. Now I wait calmly." This small practice helped him feel calmer and more confident. He realized that patience was an important skill, not only for interviews, but for life itself. By the end of the week, Daniel had learned to manage his nervousness. He understood that waiting was not a punishment, but an opportunity to reflect on his effort and to grow. Sharing his feelings, staying positive, and practicing patience had made him stronger. One morning, Daniel checked his email and felt a small flutter of excitement. This is it, he thought. But he smiled, remembering all he had learned. He was ready to see the result, no matter what. Waiting had taught him patience, positivity, and confidence, the same skills that would help him in the next steps of life and work. Chapter 15. The Job Offer. Daniel was sitting at his desk, reviewing his notes, when suddenly his phone rang. He looked at the screen and saw an unfamiliar number. His heart started to beat quickly. Could this be it? He thought. He took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, and answered politely, "Hello, this is Daniel." On the other side, a cheerful voice said, "Hello, Daniel. This is Mr. Lee from company name. I am very happy to tell you that you got the job. Congratulations." Daniel froze for a moment, and then a huge smile appeared on his face. He could hardly believe it. His voice trembled a little, but he spoke politely. "Thank you very much, sir. I am very happy and excited. I will do my best." Mr. Lee continued, "We are glad to have you join our team. Please come to the office on Monday at 9 o'clock. We will give you all the information and training you need." Daniel nodded, even though Mr. Lee could not see him. "Yes, sir. I will be there on time. Thank you very much for this opportunity." After the call ended, Daniel sat quietly for a few seconds. Then he jumped up, laughing and feeling a wave of happiness. He had worked hard, prepared carefully, and stayed positive and patient while waiting. All the effort had finally paid off. He felt proud of himself, and grateful for all the people who had helped him along the way. He immediately called Anna to share the good news. "Anna, I got the job. Mr. Lee just called me," he said, his voice full of excitement. Anna cheered on the other side of the line. "Congratulations, Daniel. I knew you could do it. I am so proud of you. All your preparation and effort worked." Daniel felt a warm feeling inside. He realized that the happiness of success was even sweeter because of the journey. The nervousness before the interview, the careful preparation, the practice, and the waiting. Every step had taught him something valuable. He also called his parents and told them the news. His mother's voice was full of joy. "Daniel, this is wonderful. We are so proud of you. You worked hard, and now your efforts have been rewarded." Daniel smiled and said politely, "Thank you, Mom. I will continue to work hard and do my best in the job." Later, Daniel sat down and reflected on the journey. From preparing the CV, choosing clothes, practicing questions, traveling to the interview, asking questions, to waiting patiently, each step had taught him skills that were not only useful for this job, but also for life. He had learned patience, politeness, confidence, and the power of preparation. He also realized the importance of saying thank you very much to Mr. Lee, Anna, and his family showed respect and gratitude. Daniel understood that politeness and humility were as important as hard work and skill. Daniel spent the rest of the day sharing the news with friends and family, practicing his English by telling them the story of his interview. Each time he told it, he remembered all the lessons he had learned, and each time he felt even prouder and more confident. That evening, Daniel looked at his clean shirt and polished shoes, thinking about Monday. He smiled and whispered to himself, "I got the job. I worked hard, I stayed polite, and I prepared well. Now, a new journey begins, and I am ready." Chapter 16. Reflection and Advice. After Daniel received the job offer, he spent some quiet time thinking about the journey that brought him here. He remembered the day he saw the job advertisement and felt nervous but excited. Back then, he did not know how to write a CV, how to greet someone politely, or how to answer interview questions in English. Now, looking back, he realized how much he had learned. He thought about preparing his CV. At first, he made mistakes and felt unsure, but with guidance from Anna, he learned to include his skills, experience, and education clearly and politely. That simple preparation had built the foundation for the interview. Daniel understood that preparation was the first key to success. He also remembered the practice sessions with Anna, role-playing the interview questions. At first, he felt shy and nervous. His sentences were short and uncertain, but practicing every day gave him confidence. He learned to speak slowly, clearly, and politely. He realized that practice turns fear into calmness and helps you show your best self. Daniel thought about traveling to the company and arriving early. He had worried about being late, asking for directions, and how to behave. Through this, he learned that arriving early, being polite to everyone, and showing respect are just as important as answering questions. Small actions, like a smile or a friendly greeting, make a big difference in an interview. The first day in front of the interviewer was the most nervous moment. Daniel remembered shaking hands, saying, "Nice to meet you," and listening carefully. Even when he felt afraid, he remembered to stay calm and answer honestly. He realized that politeness, honesty, and confidence matter more than perfect English. These qualities leave a lasting impression. Waiting for the result had been a challenge. Daniel had felt anxious and impatient, but he learned to stay positive, patient, and calm. He understood that results come in time, and worrying does not change anything. Instead, being patient and trusting your effort makes you stronger and more confident. When he received the job offer, Daniel felt happiness, pride, and gratitude. He thanked Mr. Lee, Anna, and his family politely. He realized that showing respect and saying thank you is an important part of success. Politeness and humility are not only good manners, they are life skills that help you in work and relationships. As he reflected on the entire journey, Daniel smiled. He saw how every step, from preparing the CV, practicing answers, arriving early, asking questions politely, waiting patiently, to finally receiving the job, taught him valuable lessons. He realized that each interview, no matter the result, is an opportunity to learn and grow. Daniel wanted to share his advice with others. Prepare well, he thought. Practice speaking and polite greetings. Stay calm during the interview. Be honest and polite. And even if you are nervous, keep trying. Every interview teaches you something new. Every experience helps you improve. He also remembered that learning English had been part of the journey. Speaking slowly, practicing sentences, and asking questions politely improved his skills and confidence. Daniel understood that learning a language is not only for communication, but also for expressing respect, clarity, and professionalism. Finally, Daniel whispered to himself, feeling proud. Every interview is a chance to learn. Every step is important. With preparation, patience, and politeness, I can face any challenge. I am ready for the next journey, and I will keep learning every day. Daniel smiled, feeling a warm sense of achievement. He had not only learned how to succeed in a job interview, but also valuable lessons about life, respect, patience, and growth. This journey was the beginning of many new opportunities, and he was ready to face them with confidence, politeness, and a positive